Well, wasn't this a nice surprise? I was just talking about how Shadow Warrior 3 needed a hardcore mode. I made suggestions for how that could be done, and lo and behold, here it is. Now, I'm not gonna say I get credit for this, but a lot of what I suggested was actually implemented. No, wait. You know what? I will take credit. I'm taking 100% credit for this game getting a hardcore mode. No other factor played a part, it was all me, yeah. Anyway, not only do we have a hardcore mode, but balance changes have been applied across the board. Notable weapon changes are as follows. Sidekick's damage slightly increased and spread decreased. Shuriken Spitter does not register headshots anymore. Riot Gun range slightly decreased. Katana fire attack projectile speed, explosion range, and burn chance increased. Katana ice attack freeze effect duration reduced. Katana's electric attack range decreased. Lifetime for Seeking Eye and Blade of Hattori have been reduced. Remove temporary invincibility after usage of Brain Tonic. So we've got some buffs and nerfs that smooth out the weapon balance. In my experience, I've found the reduced range of the Riot Gun and the increased damage of the sidekicks to create a really nice balance between these two guns. I'm using sidekicks more when I used to kinda forget about them. I think the sword changes are good, the freeze attack is pretty OP, so a reduction to the duration is welcome, and a buff to the fire attack makes me use it a little more, especially since the katana was updated earlier to allow for an instant charge of elemental attacks. 3 finishers were nerfed. The Blade of Hattori definitely needed to be toned down. There was never any reason to pick a finisher other than his if available, and that still may be the case, but a much shorter duration has me thinking twice about it at least. And the removal of invincibility from Brain Toxic is fine because it already gave you plus 100 HP and a buff. But I don't understand the Seeking Eye nerf. I never found that finisher to be that useful anyway, and I always avoid it because the animation is so freaking long. So if you have any thoughts on why this one got touched, let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like. Moving on to the enemies. Laser Shogun laser now stops on enemies, so I guess you can position yourself to not get sniped. Kogutsu accuracy and projectile speed increased. They're not entirely useless anymore, just a little more threatening. Oni Hanma's stagger delay increased. So if I'm reading this right, once you stagger them, it's going to take longer to stagger them again, which is a buff. Adjusted the health points of certain enemies. Hard to know which enemies have more HP and which have less. If anyone has this info, please share. Now, the difficulty changes. One by one, here we go. Enemy health points are now the same across difficulties, except bosses. I'm a fan of this because different HP levels mess with the flow of your combos and your rhythm in those big fights. But the boss difficulty variation is nice since those aren't combo-based fights. HP restored from the finishers now varies with difficulty. Praise the Lord, this is a fantastic change. No more instant 100% healing from finishers on high difficulties. This was a much needed adjustment, and to complement it, last stand invulnerability time decreased. You don't have a seemingly infinite amount of time to run away and find health anymore. You should already be keeping your health up through smart combat anyway, so you shouldn't be given more than a couple seconds to save yourself. Health and ammo orbs respawn time now varies with difficulty. Another fantastic change. The higher the difficulty, the smarter you have to be with keeping up with pickups. I'm surprised it wasn't like this already when the game came out, but I'm really happy to see it here now. And let's top it off with the last big change. The amount of health and ammo restored from the orbs now varies with difficulty. Awesome. Pretty much everything I talked about in my video, but so much better because this stuff isn't hardcore mode exclusive. These changes affect the whole game and create a much more dynamic difficulty experience. Even better, after spending some time in hardcore mode and feeling the change, Shadow Warrior 3 now feels like a game to be mastered instead of just completed a couple times and then put aside. Enemies hit hard, resources are sparse, arena fights have lots of panic moments where you're scrambling for a way out, finishers feel strategic and meaningful, the ammo pickup rebalance makes the sidekicks and pistol more important. They just polish the whole experience into something much more focused and interesting. Good job to Flying Wild Hog. This is exactly what the game needed. We'll cross our fingers for New Game Plus, but for now, you've given life to this game and I'll definitely be playing it more. And before I go, I want to comment on how I feel these balance changes have affected the way I'm playing. Before this update, Shadow Warrior 3's combat loop eventually turned into a lot of basilisk and grenade abuse, and then leaning on full auto shotgun. And I know a lot of other people probably fell into a similar kind of autopilot loop. Well, because of the new resource limits, higher difficulties demand that you think about things more. If you use all your basilisk and grenades, have fun trying to get all that ammo back anytime soon. This change alone makes combat more dynamic, because I'm using these power weapons more selectively, putting more strain on the other weapons. Submachine guns get used more at mid-range, especially due to full auto's slightly decreased range and less plentiful ammo. And pistol becomes much more useful because I need some long-range precision to sub in for the basilisk. The pistol didn't even need to be buffed, I'm just using it more because there's a role for it to fill now. And then there's the health changes. Last stand, health amount from pickups, reduced finisher health gain. There's a lot more pressure moments where you need to think quickly about what you're gonna do, where you're gonna go, who you're gonna prioritize, just to stay alive. The finishers are no longer something you just keep saved up to use on a big guy for his OP weapon. A lot of times you're frantically running around just to kill a small guy for a meager 30 health points to buy you a few more seconds. It's great. I'm just generally making a lot more moment-to-moment decisions, which is what I want. I want the hard mode of games to require better mastery of their systems, not the discovery of broken tactics that let you coast by and cheese everything. Thanks for watching. Fans of Shadow Warrior 3 are in for a real treat. And if you played it and it didn't do anything for you, I recommend hopping back in and playing for a few hours. You may be surprised.